So I now turn to our last honorary degree recipient, who is also our commencement speaker. Unbelievably, in an ironic twist of fate, class of 2024, your commencement speaker came down with COVID. No words. Despite being ill, he has kindly recorded his remarks, which we will play today, and we will move forward with that. However, I am going to read you his honorary degree citation because it will tell you some of the amazing accomplishments of our wonderful speaker today, Lonnie G. Bunch III. Although this, I'm going to do this as if I'm speaking to him, which was the plan. Although the Smithsonian used to be nicknamed America's Attic, your vision, creativity, and sheer determination have rendered that dusty old label obsolete. Starting with exactly 0 objects in the metaphorical attic, also no building, no site, no money, and a staff of 1, you led the National Museum of African American History and Culture into being. Since 2016, millions have descended to the museum's lowest levels, starting their visits there, confronted by the depths and darkness of the Middle Passage. Those millions have then ascended floor by floor through accounts of brutality and inhumanity, yes, but also tales of resilience, hope, resolve, brilliance, ingenuity, and optimism. As you intended, the experience exposes not what the world wants to remember, but what we need to remember. As you envisioned, it defines both what it means to be Black in America and also what it means to be American. As you dreamed, it is opening minds and changing the lives of those who walk through its doors. Now, as the 14th Secretary of the Smithsonian Institution, you are guiding into existence the National Museum of the American Latino and the Smithsonian American Women's History Museum, making room for more stories that we need to hear. We look forward to hearing them with you, and I hereby declare you recipient of the honorary degree Doctor of Humane Letters, entitled to all the rights, honors, and privileges appertaining thereto. And now we will hear from Secretary of the Smithsonian, Lonnie Bunch.
I am so sorry that COVID prevents me from being with you on what is a grand and glorious day. I want to thank President Mandel and all associated with William College for this great honor. I'm so pleased to be here and to have a chance to celebrate the class of 2024. At least I'm here in spirit. You may be saying to yourself, what does the Secretary of the Smithsonian do and why is he speaking to us? Well, as Secretary, my role is to oversee 21 museums, several research centers, many educational centers, and the National Zoo. But as to why they ask me, I'm mainly here because I think I'm a graduate of a liberal arts college with a history degree, and most importantly, I have a job. In other words, I'm here to assure your parents that their kids are going to be okay. Usually there's no greater risk to brevity than giving a historian a microphone and an audience. But you have 2 things going for you today. One is that my youngest daughter, who told me, whatever you do, be brief. She's a smart kid, so I promise not to keep you long. Graduates, this moment is a celebration of your hard work, diligence, and focus. You may not have known exactly what you wanted to do when you started this adventure, and you still may not, and that's okay. But your time in college will shape your life. I know it did mine. But you had to carry an additional burden than I did. You had to navigate the challenges of college during a COVID pandemic that took a physical, emotional, and economic toll on all of us. And the trauma of the pandemic wasn't enough. You will also graduate at a time when the nation is scarred by political partisanship, racial and social injustice debates, war, and a looming climate crisis. I wish I could assure you that it will get easier. Unfortunately, there's no guarantee of that. Moments of adversity are part of the human condition. What matters, though, is how we respond to those moments. Adversity, like your education, can prepare you for the world, can instill empathy, can inspire action. So to do what's expected as a commencement speaker, let me give you some thoughts that have shaped my life. When I was in college, I believed that once I graduated, the clouds would part. My future would be clear and the path of life would be straight and unencumbered. Boy, was I wrong. Trust me when I tell you, your lives will unfold in ways you cannot conceive of. I never imagined working at the National Museum of American History, or that I would leave that dream job. I didn't anticipate returning to the Smithsonian to help build the National Museum of African American History and Culture, or how difficult that process would be. And I certainly never thought that one day I'd become secretary of the Smithsonian, or that soon after, the world's worst health crisis in a century would force us to close our museums. You too will face surprising challenges and opportunities, disappointments and failures, and difficult choices. As your life unfolds, the years zip by, you'll have to learn one important lesson: how to embrace ambiguity and change, because your lives will require a nimbleness that would have been unimaginable for your grandparents. Another thing I realize is that the friends you made at Williams College and the professors you learned from will be with you the rest of your lives, whether in person or in spirit. Reach out to them. Ask them to help when you need it. Life is hard enough to navigate without doing it alone. Especially now, we need the support of friends, family, and sometimes even strangers. I found that out when I was about 13 years old. In the New Jersey town where I grew up, I was one of only a few African Americans. One day I was in an unfamiliar part of town playing baseball, the sport I loved, when the neighborhood game unexpectedly turned to violence. For reasons I didn't understand, a mob of white teenagers attacked me. They chased me with baseball bats and rocks. I can still remember the terror I felt all these years later. I remember running and running and running until my legs gave out. I remember running up a little hill in a driveway, and I collapsed on the front lawn of just some random house. And just as the mob came up the driveway toward me with bad intentions, a little girl, a little blonde girl, came out of the house and said defiantly, "This is my house, this is my property, get off this land." But not to me, to them. She fearlessly stood between us. She rescued me. At that moment, I learned that help comes from unlikely places and that generosity of spirit binds our humanity, irrespective of race, religion, or background. Though I never saw her again, she is indelibly seared in my memory. The incident changed me. Not only did it stimulate my interest in history, to help me understand why race mattered, but it taught me never to generalize, never to stereotype people. It also taught me that no matter how fast, how smart, or how tough we are, there are times when we need to draw sustenance, inspiration, and guidance from others. Never be afraid to ask for help. That fierce little girl also set an example that I'm still inspired by. She showed the power of standing up for what is right. Do not be afraid to reach out and reflect on your time here, because the experience you will help here will help you navigate the most difficult times of your life. The key is finding your inspiration. Every family has a story of hard work, of resiliency, of love, and of luck that can inspire and motivate. For me, that inspiration comes from the power of history. I learned to draw inspiration from the immigrant who left all she knew to take a chance for a better life in America. I learned to draw inspiration from the enslaved African who refused to let the field break her and who found ways to preserve her family, her humor, and her humanity. I learned to be in awe of the factory worker who spent years on an assembly line so that his children would not. And I learned to be moved by the people who braved fire hoses and dogs in order to demand simple justice during the civil rights movement. During my time in Chicago, I came to know a great person, Studs Terkel, a wonderful oral historian who dedicated his life to giving voice to the voiceless, who never met a strike or a picket line he didn't like. In later years, he said to me, "Lonnie, I can't hear anymore. I can't see much. I can't stand up. So all I can do is ask you to point me in a direction where I can do good." If the events of the past couple years have taught us anything, it's that this world needs more people who live by that ethos, people who point themselves in the direction of doing good, irrespective of personal cost. If you have that commitment to do good, you'll be able to handle adversity, You'll be able to embrace ambiguity and change what life is about. But most importantly, you will be contributing to making your town, your community, your nation better. And isn't that what we should be doing? Striving to make us all better. So let me end as I began by congratulating the wonderful class of 2024. But let me also urge you to use this education, use these skills, this opportunity you've been afforded as a chance to do good for others, to contribute to making America a better, kinder place, one that embodies its loftiest principles and lives up to its most cherished ideals. On this day of celebrating your hard-won accomplishment, I wish you a life of joy, peace, surprise, wonder, and important work. But most importantly, I wish you a life ripe with purpose and doing good for others. Thank you and good luck.